Doc, people listen to us for nonsense, and we give it to them in spades. Nonsense, nonsense, nonsense. Some would even say, on our best days, malarkey. Braves, defending champs. Boy, it sure would be a shame if there was no season next year and we were just still the defending champs.
Also, this guy that got hit, how old was he?
46.
What a loser, just sissy man. You just got punched in the face by a 90-year-old man? Come on, dude.
I'll bet Doc is like the Sinbad of Ames, Iowa.
Oh,
because people, I didn't realize, I thought it was just a Doc thing with the corn jokes. Iowa people love corn jokes.
Well, you know what they say, knee high by July, baby.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that's killing in the Midwest right now. I'm sure when that hits their ears, they're like, that Doc, he gets us.
Doc, what do I love more than anything? That's right, an angry football team.
I prefer to think of Warsaw as like a battle of who's the best saw, right? So you have like a sawzall, you have a skill saw, you have a hacksaw, handsaw. It's just a battle of saws to the death.
Welcome to the Spaghetti Junction Boys podcast, coming to you from beautiful Atlanta, Georgia. I am your host, as always, joined here by Doc Jacobson. Before we get things started here, we want to thank our friends over at Manscaped. Support for the Spaghetti Junction Boys podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package is the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you, 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code SJBAtlanta at manscaped.com. So, Doc, I was all geared up and ready to talk college football with you. We're recording this Tuesday night, a day after Georgia's dismantling of TCU. And then in my innate rambling across the internet, I came across something that I couldn't not discuss. And that is an article it was shared on Yahoo coming from someone called Next Shark. And the title is Man Spends Almost $23,000 on Realistic Costume to Fulfill His Dream of Becoming a Wolf.
Absolutely love it. I when I first saw it come across my desk, I was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. But then I thought, after the pictures and everything, like, this dude looks like a wolf standing up. And it is very lifelike, very scary. And you know what? I'm of the mindset nowadays, let everyone's freak flag fly. I don't care. You want to dress up as a dragon, you want to dress up as a wolf, you want to dress up as a Pokemon. Doesn't bother me none. Just do it right and do it real, and don't half-ass it and, have something that you made at home out of styrofoam be your quote-unquote, this is my real look costume. Have a real say at it, or a real try at it. So I liked it.
I will say I do like this more than when people spend X amount of money on cosmetic surgery to look like famous people. Mm-hmm. That always freaks me the fuck out. Have you seen those people where it'll be like, I got into $120,000 in debt because I was obsessed with looking like David Beckham. And then they just look like a freak. I mean, just calling a spade, they look insane. That's a big thing. I've seen people try to make themselves look like celebrities. This you're not maiming yourself. Though I will say, because of how lifelike this thing looks, I think this may cause harm to others. I think if you're an 80-year-old man trying to eat your sandwich in the park and you come across this 6-foot-tall wolf walking on 2 legs toward you, you're probably not doing so well.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely dropping that sandwich and running. But at the same time, one would hope that even an 80-year-old man would have the wherewithal within his senses to be like, oh, this wolf is walking on 2 legs? Like, its hind legs? Probably not a wolf. But hey, unless this guy is just automatically convinced himself or, dedicated himself to walking on all 4s for the rest of his life, which kudos to him. I've seen a couple of accounts and people saying that reverting to all 4s is the best form of exercise. I have done a couple of bear crawls in my day, so I wouldn't disagree with that. and it's a hard way to live. But unless this guy is just walking around on all fours all the time, I think we will be okay with harms to others.
Well, he said, quote, it was a moment when my dream came true. My order to look like a real wolf walking on hind legs was difficult to say the least, but the complete suit looked exactly like what I imagined. So it looks like he will be doing a lot of walking on hind legs. I think you're giving 80-year-olds too much credit here, Doc. They get spooked by someone making a left-hand turn they didn't see coming. If you see something that looks like this, like you may not see it walking towards you on its hind legs, but if you just turn around and see this thing, it's going to be jarring. It'll be jarring for us. And
Yeah.
if you're an 80-year-old who's lived through God knows what, your brain is just muddied and crumbling inside of you, and you see this real-ass looking 6-foot wolf just staring at you, you're at the very least shitting your pants. There's no way they go home with clean underwear after seeing that. I guarantee you that.
Does this become like a new like subset of people like furries and stuff? Like, is this like what realies would we call them? Like real life like furry costumes? I don't know where we kind of need to subset these people, put them in a box. I hate putting people into boxes, but these people need to be in a box because they are clearly deranged.
Well, it doesn't seem from the article that I read that there's anything sexual here. That this is just he fucking really digs wolves and he wants to look like one. And what really concerns me about this, more so than the geriatrics becoming incontinent, is that he spent $23,000 on this, which means one of two things. Either he put himself in a really bad financial spot with this, or he makes enough money to where he can spend $23,000 on a wolf costume, in which case, if you're at that point, you're probably in charge of someone. And so this very well could be someone's boss, or this could be a lawyer or a doctor. I mean, he's because
it has to be someone's boss because he's unnamed, right? Like he did not attach his name with this. Just as an unnamed man spent almost $23,000.
I mean, what could you do if this was your boss? That if you came across this individual like in the news cycle, that you just show up to work and they're like, "Hey, can you have
TPS reports?"
Yeah, I need these reports on my desk by 3, and you're just like, why is that when the full moon comes out? Like, how can you respect this person anymore?
You can't. I have to imagine.
You're like, oh, how's Terry doing? Good. He's a CPA. Oh, that's great. Yeah. Looks like a wolf a lot of the time is also something you should know about him.
Like, does this guy wear this out to bars? Because that would be the best move possible, I think. So imagine you're sitting at RIP Rosati's, but we're sitting at Rosati's having a couple of cold snacks, just chilling, and a dude in a full wolf getup walks in the door. I mean, you're obviously buying that guy a shot and then running away.
No, I am running away first. If I see a wolf walk into the bar, I'm out of there. But I don't know. I just don't know what his intentions are with this, but this could never happen in America. You could never be a wolf in America because too many guns. Someone would kill that wolf stepped out of his house.
Absolutely.
I think in Japan they have such
they're not allowed to have guns in Japan.
They have such feelings of whimsy that I don't think they would act out in any violent manner toward this wolf. Unless this wolf made, a move. But I don't know if there are wolves in Japan. I don't know if that would make you more or less frightened of it because you just be like, oh, come on, we don't have wolves. That's a guy in a costume. Or if you're just like, hey, we do have wolves, but we shouldn't go kill them. I don't know.
I'm just trying to fathom, like, a love for like anything that you would love this much that you would invest that kind of money to be. Because they're like, I had a buddy in college who loved wolves, same kind of thing, but he didn't buy a $23,000 wolf costume. He bought a couple of those like iconic, like Native American looking like wolf t-shirts, and it was awesome and it was hilarious. And that's a good kick. Like, this guy is got to be a little deranged as well, I think. And if he's not scaring people intentionally like a clown with this wolf suit, he's really missing out.
So I can guarantee you he's not married.
God, no.
Because a wife would not allow that. I guess I should say like 99.9% of wives would be like, you're spending what? We're supposed to buy a condo in Hilton Head. But I'm curious for your answer on this. You're a single guy. You spend $23,000 on a wolf suit. What date do you bring that up at? You hear that with people, if they're divorced, like, oh, do I bring that up on the first date? Will it scare them away? Or do I bring that up on the fifth date? Like, is that too long? And then they're going to think I'm hiding something. Where do you release I spent $23,000 to become a wolf in your dating?
I think, because that's a tough one. Like, I'm trying to think, like, is it the first time you bring her home, right? Because it's probably like in a display case in your bedroom because you're a psychopath.
Oh God!
Like on a mannequin, like full ready to go, so it doesn't lose any of its like
Iron Man.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Take it out when you need it.
This guy is not hanging up a $23,000 full 6 foot tall wolf suit costume in his closet on a hanger. Like, it's got to be on some sort of mannequin. I don't know. God, imagine getting ketchup on that thing. I mean, it's a beautiful wolf.
This is my new wolf suit.
$23,000 down the drain.
You klutz. I think you bring it up maybe as a.
Well, so
I love wolves. And then she's like, oh, that's really cool. He's like, no, I really love wolves. She's like, oh, okay. And then sees that suit, and you're just like, oh, yeah, that's a gag someone got me.
Yeah, I think it's the time that you bring her home the first time. And if somehow you have like it in a storage closet or something, like it's out of sight, you kind of have to go put the key into the lock and open up the roller door to see your little wolf costume before you put it on. Then you wait till like you guys move in together or something. But if it's at home in plain sight, you got to let them know before the first time you bring them home, because that is just too jarring to be like, oh, by the way, here's my life-size wolf costume.
Yeah. I will tell you, when you mentioned the moving in together, any guy listening to this will know what I'm talking about things that get lost in the move. Anything that a guy loves that his significant other really does not like, whether it's a T-shirt, something that gets hung on the wall, a mug or something that's maybe crass or something of the sort, you'd be surprised how much gets lost in a move and how much movers tend to care about the wife of the house's things, because they never lose those in a move. Oh, man alive. I've lost a lot of good shirts to moves. Pour one out.
I've gained a lot of good glasses, couches, all sorts of things to move. So, another woman's trash is my treasure.
Yeah, brutal. Well, let's stick on canines, because we'd be remiss as a podcast out of Atlanta to not talk about what the shit happened last night as the Georgia Bulldogs won the national championship 65-7. As someone from the Big 12, did you wish they put up as more of a fight to let people know about the Big 12, or were you happy to see a conference foe get the shit kicked out of them?
Somebody asked me that question last night before the game started, and I was just like, the only thing that would have been nice is to see TCU win for the monetary aspect that would come to Iowa State. Yeah. I wasn't rooting for TCU living here in Georgia for a while. I'm still not a Dogs fan. I can't stand Dogs fan. No offense to Dogs fans out there. Sorry if I turned you off here. But just from a monetary standpoint, I was hoping that TCU could win to get Iowa State some more money and some more funding. That being said, I knew it was a tall task. What's that?
You would just build more bridges with it.
I mean, what else would we do? I mean, bridges are amazing. You lost to the bridge school, so yeah. One of the greatest posts I've seen. But I mean, all thoughts considered, I knew this game was. I didn't know it was going to be this much of a blowout, but it was going to be bad. I mean, that Georgia team. That was the best I've seen that team. That was the best I've seen that Georgia team play all year, I think.
Yeah, it's funny when you see games like this, and I said it earlier this year that I think Georgia is just a big game program, at least this year, because they fucked around with Kent State, and I think they beat them by like 16 or something at home, and then they went and messed around at Missouri and almost lost in Columbia. I believe they were down that entire game until like 6 minutes left. And Missouri had a chance to go down and win it at the end as well. But then you see they started the year by throttling Oregon 49-3. And some of us were like, oh God, Georgia's going to do it again. Others said, maybe Oregon sucks. New head coach, who knows? And then Tennessee comes into Athens looking unstoppable, and Georgia just shuts their ass down. And it could have been worse because Tennessee scored some meaningless points toward the end. And not only that, but you had one of the worst non-fumble or non-safety calls you've ever seen when Hendon Hooker fumbled and that offensive lineman recovered. And I don't even think the crown of his helmet got out of the end zone. And they reviewed it and were still like, not a safety, I guess.
Safety.
Yeah, I forgot
bad.
Play, and then they showed it again on a highlight reel last night. I was like, oh yeah, what the hell was that?
Forward progress, dude. Forward progress.
Then they go and murder LSU. They laid a bit of an egg against Ohio State.
I think Ohio State just came out swinging, and Georgia was just playing catch up. I mean, I wouldn't say that was an egg. Their defense looked like shit, yeah, but they won that game on the second half for sure.
Well, I know they won the game, but that's not the best you could see Georgia play.
No.
And that's an Ohio State team who struggled against Northwestern, who got just shellacked by Michigan. That I really thought that they were going to beat them by more. I think that spread was 6.5. It was 12.5, closed at 13.5 last night. But my God, I mean, it was not only that Georgia has an infinitely more talented roster than TCU, but TCU had just an asinine game plan. That's Lincoln Riley's little brother, Garrett Riley, the offensive coordinator there. And I saw it in the first or second drive that TCU had were 2 consecutive plays they tried to get outside. And I just thought, you're not going to hand the ball off or, toss it and get outside on Georgia. You're not faster than Georgia, and you're not going to be more disciplined than Georgia. Just that made no sense to me. Why you would think, okay, if we just get outside on this Bulldogs defense, no, they're going to chase you down. I don't know.
Hey, quick.
That made no sense to me.
It's hard to beat a team that's fueled by chicken wings on the sideline. I don't know if you saw that come across your tickler file on Instagram. Wow. There's videos of the Georgia players probably in the second half after being up by 1 million, just spreading around some hot barbecue wings and some lemon pepper wings. I don't know the flavorings, but let's just have some fun here. But they were literally eating chicken wings on the sideline. I was like, that's the most Atlanta thing I've ever seen.
I'll tell you what, Los Angeles got embarrassed last night. The city did.
Yeah.
Because they built a stadium without walls, and they're thinking, oh, it's LA. It never rains here. On one of the biggest events that you could host, it pours rain. It's flooding in the concourses, and multiple people slipped and fell and had to be carried out on stretchers.
Mm-hmm.
You look like an asshole. And before that, no tailgating outside. Really? You're going to have a team from Texas and a team from Georgia come in and no tailgating? Is it just, oh, we don't want a bunch of drunkards in here? Or is it, I want you to spend your money inside? I think it's the latter, because then inside, you're charging $17 for a Modelo. And the beer offerings were just horrendous. Every menu I saw, it was just, hey, IPAs or Modelos, which IPAs are fine, but man, you let someone from Fort Worth have 11 of those, good luck. It was just a bad look all around for that stadium, that venue, the people putting it on. I guess local officials, if they had any say
The
in the
city. Yeah.
it was rough.
The only thing that I could think is because of that flooding that was going on, and maybe it was like a safety hazard that they tried to hide behind, right, for that no tailgating rule that they came up with. But it was really just a money grab. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, it had to have been a money grab, which is ridiculous because that game was 100% sold out. So you're looking at 110,000 people there. No way you're getting into that game for less than $300 a ticket. So that's like, what, $30 million in ticket sales alone right there, just on average. I mean, it is just a sham. The city of Los Angeles should be ashamed. The state of California should be ashamed. I just can't stand it anymore. I mean, these Californians, man, we got to watch out for them. They're ruining a lot of things. Ruining tailgating should be a crime punishable by death. And then ruining property values and everything cross country should be punishable by more taxes.
Yeah, that's messed up. I also have to buck against the people who are using last night as the we need less football. This is why the playoffs shouldn't be expanded. Really? That's where you want to live, is in the less football territory? That is just an asinine hill to take. And I saw a lot of people planting their flag in that this is why we don't need an expanded playoff.
I think that's the exact reason why you do, because TCU gets fought out of the competition earlier if they have to play Georgia in like a semifinal instead of the final. They're just saying that because of how boring that game was to watch last night. I literally had to turn off the commentation halfway through because it was just like, what are we talking about here, guys? Talking about Kurt Herbstreit and his wife picking flowers for their new condo? Like, I don't want to hear about that.
Well, listen, the people who say this is boring, so we need less. Well, what do you want? Do you want the BCS again, and it's just two teams? Because if that's the case, then you have Michigan versus Georgia, and Michigan was sloppy all over the field and lost to the team who you beat by 58 points. Do you want to go back and pretend we're in 1997 and beyond, where we're just letting, the AP decide who the champion is? I mean, what the hell are we doing? No, do 12 teams or 8 teams or whatever you want to do. I still support the 12 team, but you'll weed out the bullshit teams, that we argue about of, they haven't played anybody, or their conference is weak, or they got lucky here, they played so-and-so without their star player. You'll weed those teams out. And if there are great stories to be had, I'm not saying this would happen. But imagine if Tulane knocks off, USC, then Michigan, then Georgia. Imagine
you have a Cinderella story like we have in March Madness. Yes.
Yeah, it March Madness, there's talks of expanding. I believe it was to
96, which is insane.
And I got to say one thing real quick, and then we'll get to Gambling Dan's. And this goes to – I said something on Twitter of – I don't want to hear shit from you people if your team was on the bubble and didn't make it into the 96 team tournament. I don't want to hear anything because it's obnoxious already when you have, 68 teams now, and you have people going, oh, this is insane. We are Syracuse and we were 19-13. We beat Duke that one time. It's like, listen, if you're on the bubble of a 68 team tournament, you don't deserve to get in.
And Iona's getting in, bro. You be better. Be better. Just be better.
Those are the only ones I can quasi understand, is when it's like, oh, we're St. Bonaventure and we're 28-4.
Yeah.
Who are your 4 losses? Are they to the 4 real teams you played? Or do you have maybe don't lose to Coppin State, St. Bonaventure, and then you'd get in there? If it's going over to the NFL now. The NFL, we have 14 teams in the playoff. So almost half. And I saw Patriots fans, Lions fans, and Steelers fans all bitching and moaning about we deserve to get into the playoff and this is what cost us getting into the playoffs. Listen, Patriots, maybe don't throw a 30-yard fucking lateral in a tie game to Chandler Jones. Teams who do that don't deserve to get into the playoffs. The Steelers started like 2-6. You know who doesn't do that? Good teams. You don't deserve it. The Lions are fun. I love watching the Lions. They're going to be really fun to watch next year, and they're going to get a ton of hype in the offseason, justifiably so. And they were very hot to end the year. But also, Lions.
I'll go 1-6.
Yes, and you'd make it into the playoffs. Like, you have no one to blame but yourself. The bubble is so soft. The 9-7 Dolphins get in, and then it's 10-6 Ravens. You could lose 6 times out of 17 games and make it into the playoffs. I'm sorry, 11-6. And you look in the NFC, 8-9 division champion in the South, and you have 9-8 Seahawks getting in. Don't lose 8 games. That's it. Oh, we won one more game than we lost, so we should be in. No, you are the reason you are not in.
With the Lions fans, though, because it has been – I mean, there was that one year they made it with Stafford.
Lions are the least annoying of the bunch, by far.
Yeah, by far.
All Lions in because they're so much fun.
Yes, and I would love to see Lions fans have that on their resume and have some fun there. But the Steelers fans, you've had so many good years. You can't just sit there and complain that you didn't make the playoffs when Tomlin was in fear of not having a winning season for the first time ever. You have had like 15 to 20 years of winning seasons, 2 or 3, like 2 Super Bowls mixed in there. Shut the fuck up.
And to your point on that, it's not in the NFL. It's not about getting to the playoffs. It's doing what you can do when you get there. And the Lions getting there of asking, what do you want? The Lions just saying, I just wanted to see us in playoff promos on TV. I wanted to, go into a Midwest basement, get shithoused with my friends, and watch one more Lions game on TV with all of America watching. But if you're the Steelers and the Patriots, to your point of having all this success, what did you think you were going to do when you got there? Because just getting one more weekend of your team is not worth it. And do you think that Kenny Pickett and Najee Harris and gang are going to go beat Buffalo? No. And if they did, are they going to go beat Kansas City? No. The Patriots, you have Mac Jones. And ask 90% of NFL fans to name 2 skill position players you have. And the only way they'll know is if they're on their fantasy team or they do DraftKings, because you have a nameless team, and the reason they're nameless is because they're mediocre. And so you wouldn't have done anything anyway. And I don't even think the Dolphins, with all the injuries they have, and the Ravens with the injuries they've had, and the Chargers with the injuries they've had, still managed to make the playoffs. You could have done it. You had less injuries. You're just worse. It is what
everyone wants to hype up like, oh, Belichick, defense. They had a really good defense, kept them in the games. Kept them in the games, didn't win them games. It's just, I mean, and the Patriots are my least favorite fan base in here, so come at me. You see my tag right there, at SJBDoc on Twitter. I don't care. Fuck the Patriots. I just hate Patriots fans. So many friends of mine in high school that were, from D.C. area, you're supposed to be Redskins or the Ravens fans, depending on NFC, AFC. Just because the Redskins are so bad doesn't mean you get to go pick the best team for 2 decades as your favorite team. It is absolutely frustrating. And fuck Tom Brady.
Just to cap it all off.
Yeah, I like Belichick. He's cool because he cuts the arms off of his sweatshirts. But other than that, fuck everybody else.
All right, well, let's get into Gambling Dan's. We'll have Ben's picks up on Twitter. But for now, last week, Doc went 2-3, but hit his whammy with the aforementioned Steelers. I went 1-4, a brutal 1-4, lost my whammy. I'll get us started, Doc, and
Sounds good.
just pray for me in these picks because I'm getting dangerously close to the Mendoza line. Let's start in the state of Florida. We have seen home dogs have tremendous success against the spread this year and straight up. And I'm not betting against the Jaguars, the Swagwars. Listen, last time they got in, they made some noise, went to the NFC title game. If they got a couple of calls that didn't go their way, they would have beat the Patriots. And I don't know, who knows what happens in that Super Bowl. But now they've got Doug Peterson. Trevor Lawrence is playing really well. Travis Etienne is going off. Evan Ingram. That offense looks really good. And that's a beat up defense for the Los Angeles Chargers. They also cannot stop the run. So I see a guy like Etienne having a big day. Justin Herbert, until he tells us that he's not going to throw fourth quarter interceptions, I'm going to bank on him throwing fourth quarter interceptions. So give me the Jaguars plus 1.5. I'm also staying in the state of Florida for the Buccaneers plus 2.5. I really wish I would have gotten this at 3. It is now down to 2.5. But I think they're going to win it straight up. The Buccaneers were just a moribund group of 53 guys just going through Central Florida, doing what they do, pub subs, this, that, and the other. And then they turned that shit on a couple weeks ago. And you saw how dangerous they can be because they have Mike Evans, because they have Chris Godwin, because they have Julio Jones every now and again. Leonard Fournette's still a dude. They've got something to prove again because everyone was so down on them. They won the division at 8-9, but they've looked good in recent weeks. It fell apart last week against the Falcons. All the starters came out. But you know who had something to play for last week? The Dallas Cowboys, and they got shellacked by the Commanders under Sam Howell. I can't bet on that team again. And Tampa Bay looked terrific when they played the Cowboys earlier in the year. So give me the Bucs to win outright. I'd parlay them. Jaguars and Bucs, home dogs, both cover their tiny lines.
Fair enough. I'm going to go the opposite on you for your first pick there. I'm taking Chargers minus 1.5 because I believe in Justin Herbert in big-time games a lot more than I can believe in Trevor Lawrence right now. Trevor Lawrence, statistically, pretty solid year. Herbert is a pretty good quarterback there. I just think this game comes down to a field goal, and when I think of who I trust more leading that last 2-minute drive to win the game by a field goal, I am thinking Justin Herbert over Trevor Lawrence 9 out of 10 times. Yeah. Your little interceptions.
Fourth quarter quarterback.
Early fourth quarter, where there's still double-digit time on the clock. We're getting down to 2 minutes. He's going to turn it on. So right. Give me the Chargers minus 1.5. Pick number 2, my Minnesota Vikings. They are hosting the Giants. Give me the Vikings minus 3. Saquon Barkley, very good running back. I couldn't name a wide receiver for the Giants this year. I don't know why that is. They just do not have a good wide receiver core there that pops off of the page. Just really like the Vikings here to really lock down, tone in, and just make a run for the Super Bowl this year. And that starts with a more than 3-point win against the Giants. So give me Vikings minus 3.
Give me 2 monster home dogs here. The 49ers minus 10 against the Seahawks. I know Geno Smith's been a great story, and he's statistically having, a pretty solid season. He's in, I believe, the top 5 in QBR. But the 49ers are just a freight train right now. Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Greg Kittle's had a resurgence. Brock Purdy, Cyclone, doing what he does best, throwing to Iowa Hawkeyes. Looks pretty good. And so give me – and that defense is just a nightmare. So give me the 49ers minus 10. Also give me the Bengals minus 7. I stayed away from the Bills-Dolphins game because of the uncertainty at this point in the week on whether or not Tua is going to play, Terran Armstead. And we're kind of at the same point with the Ravens where we don't know if it's going to be Lamar Jackson or if it's going to be Huntley. But give me the Bengals minus 7 regardless because Lamar Jackson's had some issues in the postseason in his career. The Bengals are piping hot right now. They also have a big point to prove because of the NFL's decision in what would have happened if the Ravens beat the Bengals last week with a coin flip to see who got home field advantage. So I think the Bengals just want to bury them. And I think the Bengals are just a much better team who are playing a lot better right now. They're scoring a ton of points, and I don't think the Ravens can keep up with that, especially if it's Huntley, God forbid. So give me the Bengals -7 as well.
I did not like your joke there about Brock Purdy throwing to Hawkeyes. I commended you for your Brock Purdy comments, and then I actually realized what you said, and I gave you the double birds. So fuck off. But my pick number 3, I'm going to ride with you on the Bengals there. They're super hot. Even if Lamar comes back, I can't imagine his legs are going to be in game shape for 4 whole quarters. They rely on him so much to run. I mean, yeah, you can run in the, while you're injured and try to just keep that endurance and that cardio up, but it has nothing to do with game speed. It's just a tough spot to put him in, and expect him to go in there and win a game. I mean, especially with how hot the Bengals are. So love Bengals -7 there. Pick number 4, I'm going 49ers Seahawks under 42.5. That game, I think the 49ers run away with it in the first half. Geno Smith just cannot keep that game close. So I really like pretty much just a 49ers ass kicking. I think they win 21-3, and they'll score 21 in the 4th and just kind of let that defense sink in, boa constrictor the Seahawks to nothing.
For my whammy, I hit 3 whammies in a row and then had a hiccup this week in the Browns-Steelers under. But give me another under. Give me the under 48.5 in Giants and Vikings. These are 2 teams that Las Vegas absolutely hates. And I think a big part of it is because of these 2 quarterbacks. Listen, Daniel Jones, he's given the Giants one of the most confusing contracts to consider moving forward, because just what do you do with that? I don't trust that offense a lot, and I do like the Vikings defense can really be dominant at times when it seems like they decide to, and when they're not playing in Green Bay. And so I really like for them to limit what the Giants can do, but I also don't love the idea of betting on Kirk Cousins to put up huge numbers in a playoff game. So I'm with you that I think that the Vikings win this game. I think -3 is about right, but what I feel very confident in is that this is not going to be a 31-28 game. 48.5 seems very, very high. That I can still win this at 27-21. Do you see either of these teams putting up 4 touchdowns? I don't. Give me the under.
Yeah, fair enough. My whammy as well. I've been hot the last couple of weeks on whammies, but it's under as well. Give me Bucks Cowboys under 45.5. The main reasoning behind that is the Cowboys, like you said, had that need to win game to kind of force the issue on division championships in first place. Came out, laid an egg. I think 1 touchdown they scored and missed the extra point for 6 total points. I mean, they are just – when you need to win a game like that, and you just put up nothing against a terrible Washington Commanders team, it just speaks volumes. I mean, you can't trust Dallas in the playoffs. You saw what happened last year with Dak. There's just going to be something weird that happens into this game where Tom Brady just takes over, goes off, and it's just Dallas is just Dallas. They're just not going to do anything. So give me the under 45.5.
All right, there you have it. We'll have these picks to you on Twitter. Again, want to thank our friends over at Manscaped. It's time to take care of yourself. I had to catch myself. It's time to take care of yourself. So go to manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping with code SJBAtlanta at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com when you use the code SJBAtlanta. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. It's probably good that the podcast is coming to an end this week, given that I have forgotten how to talk today. So thanks as always for listening. We'll have this up and out across the network. We'll see you next week.
See you.